Most businesses, they exist for one reason, and that's freedom. Freedom to do what you want with who you want and when you want to, and that is time freedom. And then freedom to buy what you want and give what you want, which is financial freedom. And so the freedom business model that I kind of want to cover in this podcast episode is a model built to do precisely that. And as you ascend through different revenue thresholds in your business, then everything that we've learned over the last 10 years ultimately comes down to revolving around this. If you are listening to the podcast, I'm going to be talking through a model that I'm visually drawing on my iPad here. So if you want a visual for this, which kind of helps the brain a little bit, feel free to go check it out on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, obviously you're watching this, and hopefully the drawing and the model that I'm going to go through is going to help here. So that said, knowing this model, it's going to help you really identify where you put your attention next. And I'll say, we work with a little bit more than 200 e-commerce brands right now. And one of the biggest questions that they all have is, what do I do next? What do I focus on next in my business? Do I focus on the ads? Do I focus on the email? Do I focus on my website? Do I focus on new product dev? Do I need to hire? What does that kind of look like? And so we built this model after working over 10 years in this and working with hundreds and hundreds of clients that we've learned is the path to getting freedom as quickly as possible, so that your work of owning a business doesn't feel like you're working for just a bunch of different bosses. Like a lot of times we leave our actual corporate jobs or real world jobs, I guess you could say, to be entrepreneurs because we don't like having someone over us and having a boss, but then we have all these customers and then we become a slave to our business. And so this is built with the idea of how do we own the business? How do we step into this role of freedom that we usually intentionally get into business for, but unintentionally become slaves to because we don't have these things in place? And so what I'm going to walk through, this is actually directly from our private client training where we help e-commerce business owners in all of 19 of the 22 major e-commerce industries gain financial and time freedom inside their business by using this model. Whether that's jewelry, apparel, craft, subscription box, high ticket, low ticket, etc. And so while I walk through this model that'll help you know what systems you need to install in your business, there's only so much I can cover in this video. So if you are interested and you're like, Josh, this stuff is making sense to me, then I would encourage you, click the link in this description. We're going to include a link to something we call the Max Profits Mentorship. It's actually our mentorship that we bring people in and we teach how to install all of the systems I'm going to talk through. And so some of these systems you might have in place, some need a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of refinement because they need some improvement, and some things you may not have in place at all. But ultimately, if you want to find freedom in your business, I promise you, if you do these things, you're going to experience that. So an important note, before we kind of dive in, the goal of all of this is for you to kind of treat this like not a 7-course meal, but as a buffet. Because as your business grows, your bottlenecks and your focus is going to change. And knowing this model is going to help you know which of those areas do I focus on next. So here's how the freedom business model works. So right at the center of this, we have a Venn diagram, right? We have 3 major circles kind of all overlapping here. I'm just talking for all of you that are listening right now. So we have 3 circles and they're all overlapping. And in the middle, at the center, we have our big objective. And that objective is freedom. That objective is freedom. And to achieve that, we're going to need a couple of things. And we're going to need these things consistently. So we are going to need, number 1, we're going to need orders. And then we're going to need profit. And then we're going to need leverage. So these are all 3 things that we need. So we need to have orders coming in, we need to have maximum profit, and we need to have high leverage. Does that sound good to you? It sounds good to me. All right, great. So because these 3 things are all what are required to have freedom. If we don't have orders, we're gonna have inconsistent sales. If we don't have profit, we're not gonna survive. We're gonna bankrupt ourselves. And if we don't have leverage, we're gonna be super burned out. And so how do you create time and financial freedom inside your business? Well, these are the 3, we call them the pillars. So there are 3 major pillars in each of these circles, right? So these are the big Venn diagram things we have to have in place. The very first thing is we have to attract visitors. The second thing we have to do is we have to convert customers. And then finally, the third big pillar and circle here is we have to scale resources. We call these the three pillars. So we need to attract visitors, we need to convert customers, and we need to scale resources. And when we say resources, we mean time and money. And this is important because if you can't attract visitors predictably and consistently, well, on the opposite side of this, you're going to have inconsistent sales. So if we can't attract, we're going to have inconsistent sales. And let me give you an example of this. So let's say you rely heavily on your social media. Well, the problem is, if we're relying on social media, you can only post so many times a day till you eventually hit a law of diminishing returns that starts to happen, because posting 10 times a day isn't 10 times more effective than posting one time a day. And so if we do not have a predictable, consistent way to attract visitors, and we're just relying on organic or friends and family or farmers markets or trade shows you go to, or whatever that might look like, well, you're gonna have inconsistent sales, and you're gonna live and die by these peaks and valley moments inside your business. So if we can't attract visitors, we are going to have inconsistent sales. And just so you know, if you're watching this, we call this the butt crack of the freedom business model, because, well, it stinks when you have inconsistent sales. All right, there we go. That's my dad joke for the day. But if you struggle on the other side, let's say you can attract visitors, right? You're able to attract visitors, but if you struggle to convert visitors into customers and you can't get them to refer others and buy again, then on the opposite side of that, you're going to have little profit. You're gonna have very little profit. And then finally, if let's say you do attract visitors, and let's say you do convert customers, well, if you don't have systems in place to scale your resources, time and dollars, then what's gonna happen is, on the opposite end of that, the opposite butt crack here is you're going to have no leverage. You're gonna have no leverage. You're gonna be broke, or you're gonna be burned out. Because if you can't scale your resources appropriately and manage those resources and know what you need to do next, and the problem is you're gonna be working these 70, 80, 90-hour weeks, and you're gonna be burned out as the leader, as the entrepreneur. And so we call these butt cracks of the freedom business model because they just stink. And so how do we attract? How do we convert? And how do we scale? Well, to do this, we need a few systems in place, and each one of these is a process or a system that you have to install in your business, and how it looks might look a little different based on the industry that you're in and what you sell. And so on the attract quadrant, there are 3 systems there, and then 3 systems in the convert, and 3 in the scale resources pillar that you need to really set up. So to attract, we need to do a couple of things. First, we're going to need what we call a cash cow offer. We need a cash cow offer, something so good that people feel foolish saying no to it. And so if we can get something as an entry point, and by the way, we also call these an EPF, an evergreen product funnel. We need one entry point that we can drive traffic to using the second system that we need to have installed. And that second system is Meta Ads. Now, why Meta and not Google or TikTok or Snapchat or X or whatever else? Well, Meta currently accounts for about 70% of direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand spend. Google is 20-something%, and everything else is in the final 6%. And we believe Meta Ads is the greatest opportunity for new customer acquisition in e-commerce today, and so it's crucial that you master it, that you figure it out. And so if you don't have that figured out, that is a system you need to lean into and you need to figure out inside your business. Or what's gonna happen is you're gonna live in these peaks and valleys, and you're probably going to have inconsistent sales. And so we need an entry point, a single entry point, which, by the way, most people, I like to say this, most people treat their products like their kids. They love them all equally. But there's probably a kid you like a little bit more. Like maybe the other one's just being a little jerk butt recently, and the other one is been a great child, and they follow the rules, and they respect you, and they are just the perfect angel. Well, we could say we love them all equally, but let's be real. One is probably a little cooler than the other based on the time of the season, the year, and how old they are. All right. If we treat our products like our kids and they're all equal, the problem is we try to advertise everything. And then we have all these campaigns and all these entry points that we try to master, and it's just impossible to do. So we like to say, well, why don't we focus that? What if instead of trying to push 10 things, we push one thing, and then we sell everything else through the back end? We sell it through email marketing, we sell it through repeat purchases, we sell it through upsells and downsells and bundling, etc. And so if we can create this entry point of a cash cow offer, and then we can master Facebook ads or meta ads and get those working, then finally, as we continue to dial in, we like to install automations and systems around automation inside our business to streamline our efforts and save time. So these are the 3 systems we believe you need to install in order to predictably attract visitors to your website and have that predictability. We need a cash cow offer, we need meta ad systems in place, and we need automations set up. Now, once we begin to attract visitors, we then need to convert them into customers to get them to buy again and again and again, as well as refer other people. So to do this, there are 3 things that we do. The first thing that we do is we send email campaigns. We send email campaigns, as well as set up email flows. Now, if you want ideas around email campaigns, the reason we do email campaigns and we recommend this is like that convert, or systems inside the convert pillar, is because email generally represents 20 to 30% of revenue, while ads represents 50 to 60%, and then everything else like social media, farmers markets, all that stuff is like 10 to 20%. And so if we want to convert more customers and do so without always needing ad spend behind it, that's where email is going to really shine. This is where it's going to really come in. And when we talk about email campaigns, we have a couple of systems we set in place, 2 in particular. Number 1, we have a weekly email that we send. Every week we send a weekly email. This could be new product releases, it could be highlighting products, it could be founder story, it could be whatever. And we have plenty of podcasts that cover email stuff. And so email campaigns weekly is going to create cadence. Then every 4 to 6 weeks, we'll do what we call a promo sprint. And a promo sprint is where we're going to focus hard for 24 to 72 hours in a hardcore promotion. If we can, we'll tie it to holidays. When you get to Black Friday, that's pretty easy. Your promo sprint for that period of time is going to be probably a Friday through a Monday, Black Friday through Cyber Monday. If it's if you're coming up on 4th of July, it might be 4th of July. Like you might be doing a weekend sale, you might do it leading up to it. But the idea is that every 4 to 6 weeks, you create cash injection in the business through a promotion cycle for 24 to 72 hours. So it creates urgency, or if you can, create scarcity with the quantities that you have available in certain products. And so we'll run these email campaigns. So we have a weekly campaign that's creating cadence and is creating cash flow. And then we'll run a promo sprint every 4 to 6 weeks. It's gonna create cash injection, and it's gonna harvest all of those customers that have been sitting on the fence, or the people that haven't placed an order in a little while, and we're gonna keep reeling them in by incentivizing them. Now, does this mean you actually add discounts and stuff? Maybe, but sometimes we don't add discounts to anything because we don't always have to discount to run a promotion like that, or to highlight products, or to do a free gift with purchase. Sometimes it's a way to get around doing discounts. So we're gonna send email campaigns, and then we're gonna set up email flows. Now, there are 5 core flows we generally set up. And we have podcasts on those, but generally we're gonna have 5 core flows. So just to cover those very briefly here, we're usually gonna have a welcome flow, and then we're gonna have a checkout abandonment flow, and then we're going to have a browse abandonment flow, and then we're going to have a post purchase, pretty standard. And by the way, when we say these are not stock. Like, you can go with stock stuff, but stock stuff doesn't do really well in the long run, and you need to really spend some time on your email setting these things up. And then the final thing is, and I'm running out of space here to write, I'll just draw an arrow here, is going to be making sure your transactional emails look better than just plain Jane. So Shopify, this is like, hey, order received, order shipped, out for delivery, delivered, right? Things like that, transactional emails, and you can brand these and improve these. And so these are the core 5 flows. We usually like to just tweak a little bit and make them look a lot better and come up with a strategy behind them. We have way more the in-depth strategies behind these things that we teach a lot of our clients how to do, other than just saying, hey, welcome, here's your discount, and here's one more email, and then that's it. It's like we have a strategy behind moving them to action in the first 48 hours. Okay, so under convert, we have email campaigns and email flows, and there's one more thing that is often overlooked, and this is website revenue optimization. And when we say website revenue optimization, we're referring to optimizing your website for conversion rate and average order value. There are a lot of ways to do these, and I'm not going to dive into every one of these, but the main thing is both are important, and neither one is exclusively the most important. And the reason why is because you could, if you want a high conversion rate, you could decrease the price of your stuff by like 92%, and you're gonna get a high conversion rate, but the average order value is gonna be low and you have no profit. On the reverse side, you can have a super high AOV and make your prices 20 times higher, but your conversion rate is gonna be very low. And so the balance is to say, how do we optimize for revenue per session or revenue per visitor? And both of these are important. So we do things like pre-purchase upsells, post-purchase upsells, bundling capabilities, adding in bolt-ons like route protection that adds another couple dollars per order that's super easy to do, which, by the way, from a route protection standpoint, if someone's package got lost, you would probably replace it anyway. So why not just collect more revenue if you can? And so those are the types of things that we're gonna work on to say, how do we get the AOV up? And then also, how do we optimize to get higher conversion rates on this site? Because that all attributes to helping convert customers and maximize profit from those customers. And so website revenue optimization, we're optimizing for both of those things. And then finally, to scale our resources, our time and money, there are 3 systems that we set up and install inside the business. The first one is what we call a CEO dashboard. A CEO dashboard. And so a CEO dashboard is essentially a centralized spreadsheet, not an automated reporting tool that you have, but a centralized spreadsheet for tracking the most important metrics daily, weekly, and monthly. 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a week, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes a month to fill in all the information. And this is where we monitor important things that are happening inside the business from a metric standpoint. And I can't tell you how many times I meet business owners that don't have these things installed, that don't know their blended return on ad spend, or they don't know how much they're putting into ads, or they don't know what percentage of their overall revenue is being spent on ads, or they don't know if their email list is growing, they don't know how their average order value is faring week over week, or they'll make a change and then things go really bad, but they don't know when they made that change. This helps if you have a CEO dashboard where every day you do a 1-minute journal, and you journal like, hey, here's the things that happened. Like, we made these tweaks on the website today. We increased free shipping threshold, etc. We launched this campaign. We're running this promo, so that way you can reflect back and say, okay, if something it went well or something went wrong, I could identify that because I actually write down the numbers every day. It takes a couple minutes of the most key important metrics in the business. And then each week, I can also go back and see what happened here. And so we use these to monitor like cash levels in the business, debt in the business, profit and loss each week. And then daily, it's a lot less metrics that we monitor, but generally we're looking at like what's revenue, what's AOV, what are the number of orders, what was ad spend, what was the blended return on ad spend, what was the blended cost per acquisition. So these are the types of things that you need to know if you're going to scale. Good luck breaking $1 million and going beyond that if you don't have a grasp on your numbers. So CEO dashboard is the first system we install. The second system we install is resource allocation. So in resource allocation, there are kind of two parts of this. So resource allocation is where we monitor and manage 2 things in particular. The first one are your TAPs, and the second one are your CAPs. Your TAPs are your target allocation percentage ranges for your paid media spend. Okay, so we recommend that you budget a percentage of your revenue to go into paid advertising. because this is essential to having predictability and consistent orders and consistent customer acquisition. And so essentially what we want to do is we want to make sure that our ad account doesn't eat our bank account. And the way we do this is by saying, okay, I need a target allocation percentage range. And for target allocation percentage ranges of how much we should actually spend on ads, we recommend you choose a 5% range. 15 to 20%, 20 to 25, or 25 to 30% of your revenue in ad spend. And then you monitor that and you monitor your current allocation percentage range. So you have your target and you have your current. And the simple way to do this is take all of your ad spend amongst all your different Google, TikTok, Facebook, whatever you're running. You take all the ad spend divided by revenue, and it's going to give you a decimal, and then times 100, that gives you your percentage. And so our recommendation is you pick a 5% range that you commit to no matter what. Regardless of the performance of the account, we commit this amount to ad spend because we've learned that ad spend is the tide that raises all boats. Because the dashboard might show you certain metrics, but the reality is there are people that are coming in, that they see your ads, they go to Amazon and they buy from you. They see your ads, they go to Google, they search you, they buy from you. But Meta might lose out on the attribution and the tracking of that. And so that's why we commit a percentage no matter what. And it also keeps us in check. Because if your ad campaigns are doing really, really well, what's the first thing you want to do is you want to go ramp up the ad spend. But things aren't always linear. Sometimes things don't go well. And so what we do is when things are going well, we look at our ad spend, our current allocation percentages and say, hey, if things are going well, my percentage will start to drop. And maybe I'm aiming for 25 to 30% and I'm sitting at 22. Well, guess what? I just earned the right to increase my spend. So I increase my spend and then I go determine how I'm going to do that inside my account. So we call it resource allocation, understanding how to budget on the business level and in the ad account level. And then finally, the final scale resources thing that we set up is bottleneck clearing. Because it's not if you get bottlenecks in the business, it's when you get them. And mastering the art of identifying bottlenecks and fixing bottlenecks and then moving to the next bottleneck is critical. It's your job as an entrepreneur to know how to identify the right bottleneck and then how to fix that bottleneck and then move to the next one. And so these are the things that we have to ask, like, hey, when do I hire? When do I lean more into advertising? If my advertising is working, how do I scale it? Or if it's not working, how do I identify what's not working and how do I fix that? And so these are the systems that all make up the freedom business model. And the business model is what we implement to really help our clients get to that $1 to $3 million range. Because if you're under $1 million, you should be focused primarily on selling the thing, on moving the product, not getting in the weeds of more advanced stuff. And so you might be asking yourself, well, Josh, what about like, where in here is building and writing standard operating procedures? And where in here is inventory forecasting and hiring team and building teams and outsourcing and things like that? Well, if you're under $1 million in revenue, you shouldn't be focused on those things. Those things are going to come now. Forecasting, yes, that is important. Understanding forecasting, especially the more you do. But at the beginning, you're in this mode of marketing is the business that you're in. You probably got into business thinking, oh, I have a great product. I love products. I found the best stuff. But you likely are realizing that is part of it. But you're actually in the marketing and sales business. You have to learn how to market the business. And as you grow, what that looks like begins to change. Yes, you begin to hire your team. But we recommend, if you're especially under 1 million, that you are focused largely on these things. Once you start to kind of go over that 1 million to 3 million, you start getting in that range, well, then things start to change a little bit. And it's like, okay, well, how do I hire the next person? How do I step into leadership? How do I outsource? How do I manage people? How do I work on ops? And how do I work on SOPs? How do I do those things? And I want to share something that's pretty crazy here, or pretty inspiring actually, inspiring to me. You know, we have clients that are doing $150,000 a month with 2 people. And I just spoke with someone who grew their business to 40 million in sales with him and his wife and some support from virtual assistants. And so as far as marketing channels goes, if you just focus your attention, if marketing is what you need to really dial in, if you just focus your attention on meta ads and email, ads are gonna represent 50 to 60% of your revenue. Email is gonna represent 20 to 30%, and then everything else will come from that 10 to 20%. So if you could focus your attention on these things and you can work on these aspects of your business, attracting visitors, converting customers, scaling resources, figuring out your cash cow offer entry point, figuring out meta ads, installing automations, working on your website AOV and conversion rate, email flows, email campaigns, CEO dashboard, resource allocation, and then learning how to identify and clear these bottlenecks, you're gonna be well on your way to growing beyond that $1 million a year run rate. And then you'll get to this point where like, okay, now team becomes a thing. How do I become a leader and a visionary and step into the role of what my unique ability is in life that allows us to fulfill the dreams that I have set forth, that I really want to do, but I'm not there yet. I have to maybe you have to get some more skills. Maybe you need to improve some of these things in your business. Well, this is what you should do. Go focus on these, implement these things, and you're gonna start growing in no time. Now, if you're listening or you're watching this and this makes sense, and you'd be interested in learning our systems for each of these 3 core areas, then there's a link in the description. Click on that and see how we do this. Get a better idea of what this actually looks like. And if you want to learn from us and how we do it, the system that we use is called the Max Profits Mentorship, or that's the mentorship that we teach how to install this entire framework inside your business. And it's for you if you're like, hey, I don't want to spend $5,000 a month on an agency, Josh. Or maybe I have proven products, but I lack consistent sales. Or maybe I've invested in other courses, but I haven't had any success with that, or I want a community and I want you at my table to help me install these things. Or maybe your marketing is like hit or miss and you want something that's like a proven system like this to shortcut your time, and you have time to dedicate to doing this and you're willing to implement the stuff and take the advice and implement what we coach you on, then I recommend you look at the Max Profits Mentorship. According to our 2023 case study, we did it at the end of 2023 for people in the clients we have in the Max Profits Mentorship. So the cool thing is the average client implementing our systems, they experienced a 265.08% revenue growth within 90 days. The ones who were there for more than a year, over 12 months, had experienced a 737% revenue growth. And another cool thing was they saw an average rise of 271% more revenue from email marketing after installing our systems. So if you're interested at all in this, click the link below, check it out. And I just want to say thank you for listening to the Ecommerce Alley podcast and being part of our community.